Hello, everyone, and welcome to our final Moody talk for the month of April. We chose envy for this month, so that's our big feeling that we're going to be discussing. This is the last Moody talk, so let me go back and talk about the things that we did the first one and the other ones. So first we talked about words that describe envy and their intensity. Again, I tell this all the time. I think it's really important that you know the words that you use for envy and the intensity that each word brings so that you can understand what you need for coping skills, what you might need to help you out of feeling that maybe negative feeling of envy, right? So I talked about the difference between envy and jealousy because there's a big difference. Jealousy is all about having something and being afraid that it's threatened, that it'll be taken away. Something like that, like a relationship or something at work. So you're feeling threatened when you feel jealous. Whereas envy, it's that you're seeing something that other people have. Maybe you were working really hard for it and you haven't received it yet. And you feel like envious of that person because they have it and maybe they didn't have to do as much work or something like that. And then the second Moody talk, I discussed secondary emotions that come from envy, the things that envy can create when you kind of stew in envy, like anger. Angry that you don't have what that other person has. And sometimes that can really lead to destructive behavior on both sides, both self and to others. So please go back and listen to that Moody talk because it really does help to understand when envy turns into other emotions, how damaging that can be. Last week I discussed can you have like an antidote to envy? And what we kind of talked about is, I mean, there's really no antidote for envy, but there are ways that you can maybe bring that into check, maybe by, asking the questions, is this person better than me? No, most likely not. And my favorite part of, when I started really delving into envy and what I could do for these Moody talks, how envy can be a motivator to, shoot for the stars, do, a little bit more work towards what you want. Because maybe that person doesn't have everything that you think they have. And I talked a little bit about social media. So I want to talk about social media in this last one because I think it's really, really important to discuss. Something that I talked about last week was you see the positives for a lot of people's lives when you go on social media, depending on what platform. I mean, on Facebook, you can go in there and you're seeing all of people's vacation photos, where they went, that they got a promotion, that, their kids had birthdays and, they had, something happen sports wise and then they're having a celebration of it. We don't very much hear about the negative parts of people's lives on social media. Same with Instagram. You're seeing pictures, most likely, of more happier times for people. You don't really see what's going on behind the screen, right? So I think that talking about social media and envy is really important because I think it can turn to toxic envy when you're just constantly scrolling and seeing things from people that are their most positive parts of their lives constantly. And you maybe feel like, well, I have nothing like that. And I think that's when you need to go back to the antidote that I talked about last week of, really asking the questions. This person isn't any better than me. I don't think I would want to switch my life with this person. I wouldn't want to give away what I have to be them just because they have something that I don't. So when envy turns toxic, I think that that's when the destructive behavior really happens. And it can be self or it can be towards other people. Either way, it's a terrible feeling. And it brings about secondary emotions such as shame and guilt because maybe you're doing something to sabotage the other person. Maybe it's at work and they took a part of your job that you used to like to do, and you start talking to your coworkers. Well, I don't think that they do it well, not as well as I do, or I don't think they deserved to get that. And you start talking really negatively about another person. I don't think talking negatively about other people makes you feel better about yourself. You may have a tinge of, yeah, I said that. But that toxic envy and the destructive behavior that comes with it, in the end, is only going to bite you in the butt, right? Because eventually, if you're feeling shame, it's because other people are making you feel that way. People who are in your social circles or at work, they're making you feel that way because they're not really listening to what you have to say, or they're telling you, well, that's kind of crappy to say about someone. So you start to feel shameful that you've said things like that, and guilt that you're going against your own moral. Like, you don't usually talk negative about people, but this envy has just kept getting, festering and bubbling up. And it's not healthy for throwing things back at people, because in the end, I think it only leads to more negativity. And that is my kitten, and she is saying hello. So social media, going back to social media, how can we guard ourselves against toxic envy when it comes to social media? Well, number one, I'm going to tell you, last summer, I was not in the place to be on social media. I was not feeling fantastic. I was in a very depressive episode, and looking more and more at social media, whether it's seeing people having a great time during the summer, or what's going on in the political spectrum, or what's happening to people, the problems that we're having, and the horrible things that are happening to people. It's it can bring you down really, really hard, and it's unnecessary. So what do? We can unplug. We can seriously take the time away from what we would do for social media, like doom scrolling, as my son told me is what you call it, doom scrolling, or seeing all of this positive stuff when you're really feeling down about yourself. You got to unplug, because you're only feeding that envy until it gets to toxicity. So, number one, if you're feeling that toxic envy, that everybody's got something that you don't and you're really mad about it, it's time to probably step away for a little bit until you can ask those questions. Again, ask the questions that we were talking about last week. Are these people any better off than me? Do I know what's going on in the background? Are they having problems of their own? Is there a health crisis in their family? Are they, losing something that, that is really important to them? We don't know what's going on with other people's lives. So unplugging can be the best thing to solve that, really toxic envy that you can start getting when you're really feeling down about yourself, or something just isn't working for you. Something happened that's not that doesn't make you feel good about yourself. You can't add everybody else's positive things into your life and start to feel as though you deserve more. You don't, and you want to start getting nasty with other people. It's no good, because in the end, it ruins relationships, and it can cause a lot of problems in your life in the end. So, what else can we do on social media? Well, we can tell ourselves, as we're scrolling along and seeing all these other positive things that are happening in people's lives, we can ask the questions, that I was just talking about while you're scrolling. Because if you are addicted to scrolling through social media, you're just going to keep piling on that toxic envy. So, can you, in the moment, ask yourself, what is it they have that I don't? And is that even really something I need in my life, right? And again, the other thing about social media and scrolling is, my favorite idea for envy? Is it a motivator? Do you see a lot of people on there that are doing things that you really want to do? Well, can you take the steps to work towards doing those things? And it could be anything. What if people, like one of my best friends is a scuba diver. She teaches it. And you know what? I get envious. I would love to be able to get out there and scuba dive. So what can I do to help myself to do that, and not just sit back and be like, oh, I wish I could do that. I wish I had the chance to do that. Well, you can. You really can. You can motivate yourself to do that, whether it's putting aside money, maybe that, collecting money so that maybe you can do that thing. What if you do like to travel? Maybe the motivator of seeing all of your friends going on different vacations motivate you to put things aside. Again, put some money aside every week to go towards that goal of traveling. So social media is going to always be there and is always going to kind of taunt you if you're not in the right headspace. So I highly suggest the unplugging for a while when you get into that toxic envy mode. And then going back easing yourself back into it if you feel like going back to it. Honestly, during the summer, I didn't really feel like I needed to be on social media. I used it as a motivator to be like, okay, well, I want to get out there and do things. So I did. I did. And it really helped me through so that around the fall when I started, posting again about Moody and that kind of thing, I felt good. I felt like I did something for myself. And I think that's what we really need to sit back and think about when we're in that toxic envy mode. So I hope that helped. And again, I want you to comment. I want you to, ask questions down in the comments. DM me. I'd be more than happy to talk more about envy. And I still haven't chosen a emotion for next month. Next month, May, is Mental Health Awareness Month. So I need to figure out what I'm going to do there. So I have a little time to do that. If there's anything that you want me to do for Mental Health Awareness Month, please comment below, DM me, let me know so I can plan it. I'd love to do anything you guys want to hear. So have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you next month. Bye.